Hi guys. So today's lesson is lesson 102 and it's tenths and hundredths on a number line. So the first thing you need to have is you need to have your math notes. Then you also need to have your math book open. Your math book should be open to page 649. Okay, so this is a new concept and it's something that we kind of already have talked about. We've talked a lot about how decimals and fractions are similar. How if you have a decimal, you can turn it into a fraction, and we've been practicing that. All this lesson is putting it on a number line. Now, remember that not all number lines are the exact same. So when we're dealing with centimeters, centimeters and millimeters are related because we said that there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So when we see in our book at the top, it says that when we're talking about millimeters and centimeters, we have a fraction of a centimeter when we have millimeters. So we have 23 millimeters is just a fraction of a whole centimeter. It's just 2 3/10 of a centimeter. So this is all it's saying is that 23 millimeters is equal to 2 3/10 centimeters. And it shows that to you in your book. It gives you a millimeter ruler, then it gives you a centimeter ruler, and then it has a line in between that's showing you that they're the exact same. One is just millimeters, one is just centimeters. So to kind of expand on that, not every number line is going to be the same. The next number line we have is split into 10 parts. So when we're looking at it, we can see that, okay, there's 10 parts between the 3 and the 4. So when we're writing a fraction, we know that our denominator of our mixed number is going to be 10. Remember, we're still at our 3, so 3 is our whole number. It's out of 10 parts, and we're on the first line of that 10 section. So we say it's 3 1/10. Now, when we write that as a decimal, remember our whole number goes in front of our decimal. Our decimal counts as our and then our 1 is in the tenths spot. So we say it as 3 1/10. And they show that to you again in your book. Then we also have the same type. We have a mixed number and a fraction, but this time it's going to say 3 25 hundredths. So on that number line, if you look in your book, there's 100 lines between that 3 and the 4. That's a ton. It's a lot. So in that case, there's 100 of them, and it's on the 25th line. So we say 3 25 hundredths. So here's our decimal form. Here's our fraction, our mixed number. 3 is still our whole number. We're not to that 4 yet. And then we have 25. We're on the 25th line out of 100. So we say 3 25 hundredths. Okay? That's just kind of an overview of what we're talking about and how to determine on a number line. Now, this is important that you have your math book out because once I start, I don't have a math book to show you, so you need to be looking in the math book as well as working on your notes. So example number 1, it says Santiago is 162 centimeters tall. What is Santiago's height in meters? So here we're converting from centimeters to meters. Well, we said that there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter, but we need to know how many centimeters are in a meter. 100 centimeters are equal to 1 meter. So I'm just going to write that right here. We have 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. That's my conversion. Okay. So Santiago's height is 162 centimeters tall. So that's 1 meter, because if we have 162 centimeters, we already know that 100 of them is going to be 1 meter. So if we take 100 away, we're left with 62. 100 centimeters. So 100 centimeters was equal to 1 meter, 62 centimeters. So we actually have 1 meter and 62 centimeters. Now we can also write that in a decimal. Okay, we can say 1 decimal point 62 centimeters. Okay, and then you would also say tall. Oh, just kidding. We don't need centimeters. Our label is meters. Now, that goes back to labels are extremely important, and Mrs. Crilly kind of messed up on that one. All right, moving on. Example number 2. Let's see. Here's a number line. It says, write the decimal to which each arrow points. So I'm looking at letter A, and I can see that there's an 8, a 9, and a 10. Okay, so I'm going to count the distance between my 9 and my 10. So I can see that between my 9 and my 10, there are 10 spots. So I'm not to my 10 yet, so my whole number is going to be my 9, and we're writing as a decimal, so I put my decimal point. Now, since it's out of tenths, I'm only going to use one place value behind it, not 2. 2 is out of 100ths, just 1. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's on the 6th line, so it's the 6th spot. So 9 6/10. Okay, next one. Wow, that's a whole lot of numbers. So I can see that it's between 7.5 or 7 5/10 and 7 6/10. So straight off the bat, I can see that my whole number is still 7 5/10, but there's more lines in between the tenths. I'm going to count over. There's 1, 2. It's on the second one. So I'm going to say 7 52 hundredths. Okay, awesome. Moving on. Example number 3. Now it says we're going to round. Rounding is going to change the number. We're going to go to the nearest whole number. So we're not going to have a decimal anymore. We're going to go to just a whole number. So I have 9 6/10. When we're rounding, we still look at this number. If it's a 5 or above, we're going to give this number a shove. So because 5 or above is what we're talking about. This is a 6. 6 is bigger than a 5, so I'm going to push this whole number up to a 10. And then we're going to round 7 52 hundredths. So when we're talking about 7 52 hundredths, we're talking about just like $7.52, and you're going to round that. So the nearest whole number. So just as $7.52 is between $7.50 and $7.60, 7 52 hundredths is between 7 5/10 and 7 6/10. So it's actually closer because it's a 2. The 2 isn't going to give my 5 any shove. So it's actually going to stay 7 5/10. Okay? And last example, we're going to estimate the sum. So we're going to do 2 different things. We're going to round and then we're going to add. So we're going to round our numbers to the nearest whole number because the problem is stating estimate the sum of 4 87 hundredths and 3 11 hundredths to the nearest whole number. So first we need to round. We're going to round 4 87 hundredths to the nearest whole number. So I have 4 87 hundredths. Both these numbers are 5 or greater, so I'm actually going to push this whole number up to 5. And then we're going to round 3 11 hundredths. Now both of those are not bigger than a 5, so I'm actually going to just let them go and keep it a 3. Then I'm going to add 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay? So I don't think this lesson is anything we haven't already done in class. This is kind of just a review that decimals and fractions are very similar. Now we're converting a lot of things when we're talking about centimeters and meters, or meters to centimeters to meters, millimeters to centimeters, but our fractions and decimals stay the same. And when we're dealing with anything that has 2 place values after, I always refer back to money. Okay, that's the easiest way to do it. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to take about 15 to 20 minutes to sit down and get your lesson practice done. make sure that you're really counting those spots between those number lines, and make sure that we're getting, if it's asking for a decimal, we write a decimal. If it's asking for a fraction, write a fraction. If it wants you to round to the nearest whole number, that should be fairly simple too, okay? There's A through K. Now, I'm not going to see any work for this one besides your answers. So don't worry about showing your work on this lesson practice. Then when we're done with our lesson practice, what I need you to do is I need you to take a picture of just this section here. Just this section. You can do the whole page if it's easier, but I just want to see your lesson practice and then post it to Seesaw under your account and go into the activity that should say that lesson, math lesson 102. Take a picture of your lesson practice and then go ahead and upload it to Seesaw, and then I'll give you some feedback from there, okay? All right. If you have any questions, please let me know. Send me a message on Seesaw, send me an email. Let me know if we're having any troubles getting or understanding this lesson. All right. Good luck.